This is the Groove Guru podcast. My name is Windsor, and my guest today is Ray Biggin. Pete is a phenomenal drummer and has worked with a variety of super successful acts from Amy Winehouse, Incognito, Mark Ronson, Chaka Khan, and more, to your current gig as drummer with Level 42. You also lead your own band, PBUG, formerly known as PB Underground. Have created Drums at the Front, an educational minus drums play along package. You've been featured on the cover of Rhythm magazine and are also an accomplished clinician. Pete, thank you for being here today and welcome to the Groove Guru podcast.
How you doing, my bro? You okay? Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, pleasure. Yeah, great to speak today. And we're just saying it's pretty synchronous how it came about. You know, I'd heard about you a few years ago and saw you playing with Level 42, and then there was a London drum show you were playing at. You were on the bill. I think it was Gavin Harrison. And I was like, who is this crazy dude playing such amazing drums? You know? and I saw there was a clinic in Guildford. And and it was cool. A few episodes ago, I had Simon Hansen on from Squeeze, and he was mentioning you. He said that, you know, there was a festival you were both on, and you were just saying how, you know, lucky you are to
we hung out.
be doing what you do.
We did the drummers thing, you know, drummers like come together, don't they, sort of thing, and start talking about each other's kit behind the stage and stuff like that. So yeah, he's a top man.
Absolutely. And indeed, and then there was another mutual connection that knew you. So it's like, you know, very synchronous. So yeah, we're doing it. Man. Great. So as someone, you know, who grew up in Sheffield, moved to London 2002, excuse me, and you've made a lot of your dreams come true in music and life. You know, what's most exciting for you these days in rocking your world, Pete?
Well, I mean, you know, it's been a great 27 is when it really kicked off for me, because I was living in London from about 21, 22, and I was in an original band called Rain. And then we all lived together, lived in a house and all this sort of stuff. And we sort of did about 6 years of that. And then we were just sort of making the album and getting on each other's tits, and then ended up breaking up, as you do when you're young in a band. And my first gig was like Amy Winehouse, which was nice because I kind of knew her before she used to come and watch my original band Rain. So then we just got on, and that was like my first sort of proper big gig, you know, and that's when everyone starts throwing drums at you and cymbals and saying, do you want this free? And I'm like, well, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, it was nice. And that's where it kicked off, from Amy Winehouse to Mark Ronson. And then with Mark, we played with an array of different artists, and my CV went up from there, and crazy tours, and just, yeah, it was just great. And then obviously moved on to my dream sort of like kid hero bands, you know, like Incognito, and played with Shaka, and yeah, man, and then just dropped the Level gig, which was nice. So yeah, it's been a good few years, let me say.
Absolutely. And you know, it's like you're known for playing with Level 42, which is awesome. You know, you've landed that dream gig. You've been doing it for years and continue to ace it, you know, year after year. You know, like a few years before that, and those other gigs and those processes, you know, what were some of the key things that you learned in the process of those, like wisdom that equipped you for being able to show up at that level with the Levels? Is there anything jumps out?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you know, because it's different these days. You know, some kids come straight out of college onto some big gigs, and I think what was good for me is I did years and years of driving to gigs in my car with a kit in the back of my. As soon as I was 17. From Sheffield, I was driving all over the shop and doing gigs, and I think that was like my university of learning to be a musician, is doing all your, you know, your pub gigs, your wedding gigs, and, you know, having really crap gigs and then having good gigs and meeting different musicians. So for me, that was the training, that since I was like, I mean, I was gigging since I was 13, but that, you know, the training, a good 10 years of training before I hit big gigs, do you know what I mean? So it's like, as soon as I hit the big gig, there was no pressure. It was just like, bang, you know what to do. So I mean, it was good for me, that the experience of doing all the sort of gigs and by myself, you know, and then getting the pop gig. I was ready for it, man. Do you know what I mean? So that's the experience that kicks in. So yeah, you know, experience is a good thing, and you should never you should never snub all the sort of wedding and function gigs, because they're the ones that can bring you to nailing a good pop gig, you know.
Absolutely. And you know what's as well with that, you know, when you're doing more of a profile pop gig on that level, you know, a lot of people that are, you know, stars in the industry, like, you know, there was Amy for one, you know, amazingly talented at what she did, you know, yet not always, she wasn't always in the best place, and a lot of people can, you know, succumb to that. You know, it could be the Elvis, Judy Garland, you know, fill in the blank. You know,
Yeah.
what are some things that, you know, how have you come to navigate that balance between, you know, being in the limelight so much and then finding that, you know, fulfillment and groundedness, you know, off stage, which can be a struggle for many who are quite successful in the business?
Well, I think you get your gigs. I think, you know, I think 30% is your playing, and I think it'd be 70% of what you like as a person and how you get on with people and how you're professional in turning up on time. Is your equipment in good order? Have you got your shit together? Do you know what I mean? So all these little things become a part of what you are, you know, being reliable, not being an arse to people, not being full of yourself or big headed.
Mm.
And it's how it's what goes off the stage. Not for me, it was, you know what I mean? Because you just want to work with good people and nice people, you know. And I know quite a lot of great up top players who you know, just quite full of themselves, and you know, I mean, it's cool, you get the gigs and all that, but then again, you lose them as well. So it's like, so. But I think, you know, man, treat people like you want to be treated yourself, and be nice and just be professional, and yeah, you shouldn't go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's, you know, many people who are not musicians, they see the tip of the iceberg, the 2 hours or 90 minutes, whatever it is on stage, but then there is all that other part, which
Yeah,
is the biggest part of the iceberg that
if
you
you
don't see.
get on off stage, if you're really
Yeah,
good mates off stage, then on stage, it's easy. The music will speak for itself, you know.
absolutely. And, you know, one real, before we go into the levels stuff, I've got some questions and cool things about your playing, is that, you know, a lot of people, you know, see you play with Level 42 and you do this amazing, you know, technical, you've got a vast vocabulary and all works brilliant for the context. But what I think a lot of people may not realize about yourself is that you also really know how to dial it back. And I remember seeing a clip of you on your Instagram. It was a session you did with Scott Devine from Scott Space Lessons and the artist that you were working with. And
Oh,
you're
yeah, that was cool.
and it's like you were playing was like super simple there, but again, it was just, you know, perfect for the context. And so tell us more about the importance of, you know, playing for the song and the context.
Take your ego out of it and play what's needed for the song. It's not your song. It's not about you. It's about what you know, just Richard Bailey said this, another great English drummer. He was Trinidadian guy. He played for Incognito for 25 years, and he just went, man, just keep the groove. No pa 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 ting ting ting, keep the groove. And it always stuck with me, that, because I'm a very busy player, you know, and I guess a lot of people see me being that player, but there's no reason why I can't play simple and easy. It's just the gigs I've had, I've been going mental, like a caged monkey. You know what I mean? But like you say with that aerial possum stuff, that was wicked, and that was only one take. That shit came in, and I was listening to his stuff, and I was like, I really like this guy's stuff, and bro, we just did it one take. We did 3 songs, and each song was one take, and Ariel just said, man, it's cool, man. It's just like, it's a little bit different. We could rehearse it. He said, but I want to leave it at this because this is a lovely take. And I went, that's how it should be, man. You know what I mean? You just get your head down, play the song, take your ego out of it. You don't play what you want to play. You listen. Don't listen to yourself. Listen to what else is going on around you, and just play the song. Listen to the vocal, man. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so yeah, I do like that sort of stuff. But I learned that stuff from being in a studio by myself, having a recording studio, and just being able to play along to stuff and listen back, because, you know, it doesn't lie. That's how you sound, man. And it's like,
100%.
you know, and you're like, oh, shit, is that me? God, I sound horrible, man. You know, and it's like, you know, the thing is, like I said, that shit don't lie, and it teaches you what not to play, you know. So and it's nice, man, you know, playing simple music. It's like you feel it. You don't have to be going mental. You can just feel it in your soul and your spirit, man, and just go with it, you know. So yeah, it's and it's hard actually sometimes to play, you know, the hardest things to do, right? You know, when someone goes, oh, try this fill, and you go, yeah, and then you just start speeding it up. Learn it slow. It's really hard to learn slow, honestly. To teach something, I say play it as slow as you possibly can. It's so harder to play it slow than faster. But if you can play it slow, then man, it's going to sound so much better when you speed it up. So it's the same for me with simple music, man. It's like it's hard. It's for a lot of people, it's harder to do, but it's so much nicer, you know.
Yeah. That I call that, you know, quality, not quickness. You know, just and 100%, you know, that it can be challenging to listen back to yourself, you know, because the tape 100% always tells the truth. That's what went down. And then
sound rubbish. You're like, oh god, I sound rubbish. But I think most great musicians think they're rubbish, so it's that's how it is, you know.
But you know, that's kind of, you know, what's needed, you know, as I see it, that kind of failure or that going for something and not being able to do it yet, you know, like it is just part of it, because you just got to meet that edge and then expand it, you know, as we know. And but awesome. And so level 42, I love hearing you play with those guys. And you know, I think a lot of people who might not have heard about how you got that gig, you know, the dream gig, and you got the call from Mark, you know, could you tell us about that, a quick recap on that one?
Well, I was on tour with Incognito at the time, and someone called me up and went, look, the level 42 gig, they want a depth drummer because Gary can't do it next year. And I went, yes, put my name forward for that, you know. I said, you know, it was one of my favorite bands as a kid. You know, I met him when I was 11 and played Gary's kit. And so I was like, I kind of just knew just from that first call it was my gig. Anyway, so Mark King called me one day, 9 o'clock in the morning, Monday morning. Hello. Hello. I think I was still hungover, to be honest. And he goes, hi, is that Ray Biggin? I said, yeah. He says, this is Mark King. And I think my first words was, what's took you so long to call, man? So, but he said, look, you know, Gary can't do next year. And this was like November. Gary can't do next year. Would you be up for stepping in? I said, yeah, man. I love the band. You know, it's one of my favorite bands as a kid, you know, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, February came. We went in and just set up the kit and just, you know, bashed out a load of the hits. And obviously I knew the shit from when I was a kid, you know. Mike Leonard was like, wow, Pete, you've really done your homework. And I was like, just like, I know the stuff, you know. So Mark was like, well, do you want to play any more songs? I said, yeah. He says, which song? I said, well, any of them, because I know them all. And he went, all right. So he started playing Love Meets Love, which I didn't know. So I had to blag that one. But yeah, it was just, and literally after the rehearsal, it's kind of an audition, but just a rehearsal as well. And next minute, the photographer came in, and the next day I was announced as the new level 42 drummer, which was nice. So yeah, it's quite a blessing to have that gig. And to be honest, I don't really see there's many big kind of gigs like that where you can play your ass off over hit songs, you know. There isn't that many, and it's a drummer's gig that, you know, obviously playing with Mark as well, you know, what a fantastic musician that guy is, you know, and what a great man he is as well. A lovely man and an absolute beast as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's been great coming back into level 42 and bringing some new blood and new fire and, you know, ramping it up a bit. Do you know what I mean? And the fans really like me, which was nice. So yeah, man, just I mean, you always get you guys like, yeah, but you're not Phil, are you? I'm like, well, yeah, I know I'm not Phil, but I love what Phil did and I love what Gary did, and I'll still do them Phils, and I'll still do like his little hi-hat tricks to pay homage to these guys. But you know, I will be me, but I will also, like I said, you know, do the fills in hot water, and just, you know, because people are used to these on the record, and that's another thing is when you do a gig, if you're doing a gig, you can't just play what you want. You've got to play things that are on the album because people are attached to these parts. You know what I mean? So, and it's nice playing these parts. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, put your own fingerprint on it, but always be respectful to what's been done before. you know.
Indeed. Yeah. It's like, changing some of those signature, drum fills. Some people may think, oh, it's just a drum fill, but it's like changing the guitar riff of
Yeah,
the
but bro,
songs.
it's cool. It's cool doing them. It's like, how much do you want to change something? Do you know what I mean? It's like it ain't gonna sound any better. Do you know what I mean? Just like, if you start Rock With You with a completely different, like, people are gonna be like, what is that man play? Like, you got to play Rock With You, Phil. Do you know what I mean? It's like you've got to do that shit, So yeah, it's nice to play parts, man. Do you know what I mean? So also nice to have the freedom to go mental, because if I'm not fucking going mental, he's going, come on. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, perfect. And that's what I was going to touch on next, actually. So great point. It's that, compared to the original records, there is a lot more going on with your playing, for sure. And how much of that was directed by the band and Mark, which you've just answered a bit, and then via your own creative input?
Oh, he loves it. He loves it, man. I mean, the guy's in his mid-60s now, and he's still playing like he was 18. Do you know what I mean? He's an absolute monster. So, yeah, he's never really told me to chill out or anything. It's just when you sort of maybe read some of the comments on the Level 42 post, you think, oh, yeah, maybe I should just chill out a bit. It's just like, but man, everyone's different. And I think the energy shows, and that's, the energy and the passion and the spirit when you watch Level 42 live now. And that's why the gigs have just got better and better, and more people have come, and people have brought their kids, and now the kids are into it. So it's kind of rejuvenated the whole Level 42. And to be honest, and this is not my ego speaking, the band is the best it's ever been, because I've followed the band since I was a kid, and I followed the band when Gary was there, and I watch it now and it's like, nah, man, that's the band hands down now is monster. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, I remember there was a recent show you did on, I think, the most recent tour. It was on one of those Rock Palace concerts. It was in Germany somewhere, I think, earlier this year. And wow, I was amazed at how awesome the whole thing sounded. You sounded great, and Mark as well. It's like, wow, he's still full steam ahead. It's like a juggernaut. Elegant power. It was awesome. So who are your influences for that? Because in your playing, I hear like a bit of maybe Simon Phillips. There's a big kit thing going on, like kind of Vinny type playing when he worked with Sting. But Dennis Chambers seems to creep up.
Yeah, I mean, I never got into Simon Phillips too much, because he was off the back of like Billy, and I mean, fantastic drummer. It's just my three guys who I watched when I was a kid was Dennis, Dave Weckl, and Vinny. But also not forgetting Jeff Porcaro. Jeff Porcaro was one of my favorites as well. And as I got older, then I discovered, Purdy and Steve Gadd. Obviously these guys. It's. But I think I was a bit of a Weckl fan to. But then Vinny came along. I was like, oh man, he's a bit more different. So a bit more. Yeah. And then I got Chambers, and I was like, oh my god, this is it. It's over.
Oh wow! Like discovering Vinny. He was one of the first guys that I'd heard that I genuinely had no idea of what he was doing. Until I, did a lot more transcribing and analysing. It was just right off the bat. It's like, wow, what's that? And the first time I heard you playing, it was the same thing. It's like, what is this? Yeah. And breaking some of that down, I'd love to hear your take on it. One thing I think that you're exceptional at is phrasing. Catching figures in the music and stabs in the music and playing around them. How did you develop that, and who's influenced you in doing that musically?
I think it's probably to do with my ADHD, mate. It's like as soon as I hear something, I go, it's just like, it must be because I mean I am a musical drummer. Do you know what I mean? It's like and if I hear a horn thing go, the next time I've caught it, it's like But again, that's a listening thing. It's a teaching thing. You can't teach your ears. It just comes with experience. but you need to use these. These are more important than these things. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you can do all this shit, but if you're not using these, you know, these are very important. So for me, yeah, now it's my you know, if I catch stuff, it's from listening to what's going on. And you know, sometimes I guess in my early Incognito days, man, I was catching everything. It's like fucking all the stabs. And just one time, Sid Gold, Scottish guy, came up to me and he went, "Hey Pete, you know, you don't have to play the whole of my solo." Just like, because I'd be playing all the bits with and I was like, okay, you know, I'm a drummer. I shouldn't be playing his solo with him. You know what I mean? So it's a learning thing, you know.
Yeah, great to have the ability to do that as well.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's great when someone tells you to shut them up, you know, so it's good.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, another thing, there was a cool thing. It was a really interesting part of your playing is the left hand timbale and percussion playing that you integrate.
Right,
you know, how did that come about for you, and what was your influence?
I just took it on from when Richard Bailey was doing it with Incog, and I thought, oh, that's cool. This kind of, I'll just start using this thing. But then one day someone went to me, you know when you switch that way, Pete, and you do that, and he says, you know, you're playing left-handed there. And I was like, am I? And then I was just like, oh yeah, because I'm holding that there, and then I'm doing stuff here, and then I'm switching back to being right-handed while doing the timbales. So I guess I'm kind of the ambidextrous has come out, you know. But I don't know, man. I mean, I've never really studied it. Okay. I just something I do, and it's just gradually it's evolved. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I kind of do this thing where I'm hitting the crash cymbal like this, and if you break that down, you're actually leading with your left arm, so you're actually playing left-handed when you're doing it. And I just did it as just something that looks cool, man. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, if you break it down, it's quite all right, yeah. And it's funny because, you know, yeah, you know, you can break stuff down and that, but you just play, man. Just play and don't stop letting this think too much. It's as soon as this starts thinking too much, then all your blood's going here and not here, you know. And it's like, you don't need to really think about it. You don't need to think about breathing, you know. You don't need to think about walking down, you know, like everyone has got rhythm, man. This is the weird thing. Everyone's got timing and rhythm because everybody walks down the street in time, but then some people can't dance because they're trying to think about it and just naturally let shit happen and practice as much as of what you can do, and then you just let it happen, and it should just come out. So yeah, I guess, sorry, I was just veering off.
Great point, because I was wondering, you know, how much variation is there from night to night, like with Level 42 gig? Is it
it's always different,
very specific? Yeah,
like I said, the songs are set, but you know, there'll always be something Mark will throw in and I'll end up catching it, and he'll do it the next night, and then that'll evolve over the next few gigs to something when the horns catch it, and bang, it's like, you know, it's just like keep just throwing little things in, and everyone's going, oh, I'll have a piece of that, I'll have a bit of that, you know. It's like, and music should be fun. If it's not fun, then stop and think why it's not fun, you know. It should always just be something you can do naturally. Do you know what I mean? And if you can't do it naturally, then you practice harder, and when you come back to it, you shouldn't really have to think about it as much as what you did when you were trying to do it before, you know. So
yeah, absolutely.